Hi, I'm Joan Newcomb, and today's Sit in the Car and Talk is upgrading your techniques. Now, I've shared a lot about having gone through a huge transformation back in 2006, a huge upgrade of myself as consciousness. The techniques that I had been using and teaching since 1981, 1984, all became non-functional. It was really a shock to my system because these techniques were like rooted in the Egyptian era. They were mystery school techniques. They had worked fine in the past, except I was operating at that time in a more dense focus on the physical. What happened to me in 2006 was that I shifted to an expanded way of being. All my techniques required an upgrade. What I just noticed the other day was an upgrade of one of those techniques required an upgrade. I was trying to, maybe actually what I was trying to do is change, fix, and manipulate the hologram, which doesn't work. You can only shift and change your own reality. When you do that in relation to other people, the way I think of it is that I am shifting myself so that I am in a new reality where things are unfolding in my favor, which includes people being different as well. I've actually had that happen where people become completely different or they just leave your timeline in interesting ways. One of the techniques that was very popular that I really liked a lot was a form of shifting where the first point was dense and unmoving, and a second point, which could be anywhere in the universe or any dimension, was moving. And so you basically took the thing that wasn't moving, the thing that was dense, uncomfortable, painful, or whatever, and you were pointing it, collapsing the wave to a different state of being. And I would do it like this. And this worked really well when I went to DC and started having lunches with my father, who I hadn't talked to for 7 or 9 years. I found myself doing this under the table with him. At the time, he had just been diagnosed with a second recurrence of lung cancer. Also was just starting a brand new chemo pill that had these different side effects. Anyway, what happened was within 2 months, they said this chemo pill was a miracle drug because 2-inch tumors had just shrunk to scar tissue. Maybe it was the Tarceva. Also, at the same time, I did a phone reading for a friend of a friend, and she had a brain tumor and she was on hospice. And even though we were just doing a straight out reading, there was no healing involved. I found myself doing this as I was talking to her and answering questions. After the session with me, her tumor started shrinking. Now, they never took her off hospice, but both she and my father lived for another 2 years. He then got a third recurrence of lung cancer. This happens to people in their lives where they make a choice as spirit, as consciousness, and then they're gone in 6 months. It happened to my mother-in-law. Made a decision, and then within 6 months she was gone. And that's just a normal recurrence, though if you had had a conversation with him at the time, he would have been against it. He was frightened of dying. There's all sorts of things going on for him, but this was a choice of consciousness. So this worked really, really well, but I tried to use it the other day and it just felt clunky. It just wasn't working. And I suddenly remembered that I had another version where it wasn't 2 pointing where you're collapsing the wave, but it was 1 pointing where you're just creating a dot of consciousness. It shifts everything. It's a way I've upgraded my meditation practice where I have some key places where I have a dot of consciousness and it just physically reorganizes me and tension and pain just dissipate. It doesn't work if I'm trying to force it, but no, it changes. I found myself driving down the street and I was going 1 pointing, 1 pointing, 1 pointing, and then I was like, I want to do this faster. 1 pointing, 1 pointing, 1 pointing, 1 pointing. So it's just dots of consciousness into the situation. What that allows to happen is it's like bringing tiny dots of light into the situation, allowing reality to reorganize in everyone's favor. And here's the thing, sometimes you will see an instantaneous change in the circumstances, and sometimes it happens in increments. You don't notice it until you look back and you go, oh my God, after that session, which I had a whole laundry list of physical complaints, suddenly I got a promotion at my job, or I got a reorganization of hours, or I got a free membership at the gym. All these different things showed up synchronistically in your reality. So it's a fun thing to do. It can be very challenging, especially if what you really want is to change, fix, and manipulate the hologram here, because it's not going the way I want it to go. And when that runs through my head, I know that I'm not operating as my greater consciousness. I'm operating as my small self that wants everything to go away I want it to go. When I can relax, take a deep breath, step back, and operate as consciousness, not take anything personally, not resist or react to what's going on in other people's holograms, then I can really appreciate how the universe really is reorganizing in my favor, in everyone's favor, and in a way that I couldn't possibly have imagined. So I invite you to try that for yourself, or if you've had some experiences like this, please leave me a comment below. I love to read your comments. And if you like these videos, please share them with your family and friends and on your social media. And please like, subscribe, click the heart, the thumbs up, and that way you're telling the algorithm to get this out far and wide and in front of someone who really needs to see this information. And if you want to know more, my website is joan-newcomb.com, and I'll see you next week with another Weekly Musings.